So welcome to the Video Marketing Podcast by Falkon Digital. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about video marketing mistakes, the most common mistakes that we see businesses make with their video marketing, and ultimately what you can do to fix those mistakes. So my name is Luke Sadie, and for the last 8 years, I've been working with the YouTube platform. And for my own personal channels alone, I have over 1 billion views and over 600,000 subscribers. I've also spoken at events like Vid Summit and Brighton SEO. And of course, I work with businesses almost daily on their video marketing. I'm also joined today by my co-host and of course, my dear wife, Sadie Sharon. Sadie, why don't you introduce yourself to everybody?
Well, I have been working in digital marketing since MySpace was a thing. More recently, I've been focused a little bit more on video as a specialism because at Falkon Digital, we've realized how much potential there really is in videos. But I stay away from YouTube. I leave that to the expert. And I work more on the short form content that you would use for TikTok, Instagram, even vertical for LinkedIn. And that's where I help businesses and brands. Over the past nearly 20 years, I've been working with big brands you know and smaller brands you might not know as well. But all in all, we've helped grow businesses online and using video is key.
And ultimately, regardless of the size of the businesses, the strategies that we implement are always pretty much along the same lines, aren't they?
Usually, having that brand recognition from the big brands makes life a lot easier. But that doesn't mean to say that you can't start a brand new business and get similar results. I think video and TikTok and Reels and short form video really gives brands that potential.
Yeah, absolutely. So today we're going to be talking about the top video marketing mistakes. We actually have a list of 10 different mistakes. So what is the biggest mistake we see businesses making?
I have to check my phone for the number one on our list. Number one, which I think most people would agree with, is not having a clear goal from your video. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, that's a very, very common thing. So we'll speak to a business. They're already sold on the fact that they should be doing video marketing. They're very, very excited about it. They've paid for videographers. They've got a location. They're going to make a video. They haven't really decided what the video is going to be about yet, or really who that video is for. And that can lead to all kinds of mistakes because if they go ahead and record that video, trying to reverse engineer it at the end can be a real headache.
Yeah, I know. And sometimes before we start filming, for us, we try and go in, we talk to either the client or the other agency that we're working alongside with. And they'll be like, yeah, we're planning this beautiful shot, this, that, and the other. We've got makeup artists, we've got models, got influencers. And then we'll go in and we'll be like, but what's the point? What's the point of the video? And they're like, because you need to be doing video. It's like, yeah, but what's the point of the video?
Yes, exactly.
And most of the time they haven't actually considered where it's going to be, it's going to be published, who the audience is going to be, what value the video is actually going to be adding. Not even like what's the call to action.
Exactly. And I think ultimately the answer tends to be, well, it's we just want to get reach, want to get brand awareness. And that's fine. But if you're going to be investing a lot of money into your video marketing, you really want to make sure that you can have some kind of measurable return on investment for your spend.
And having a clear goal helps you do that.
Absolutely.
Whether it's going to be a product video, whether it's going to be, I mean, it could just be a sentiment video or it could be a brand awareness video. There are lots of different reasons, but you do have to have that in mind because then the editing and the whole package just makes more sense if you've got a clear goal.
Absolutely. If you haven't got a clear goal, I don't even know how you go about structuring how your content should be. Because if you know what your goal is, that really determines the entire structure of your video. So it'd be like doing it blind, really.
On that point, I suppose another mistake we see people do is they create these vanity videos, but they forget that actually it's got to appeal to the audience. So understanding what the audience needs and what the audience wants and how that aligns with your brand is a big mistake that I see a lot.
Yeah, I see that more with smaller businesses where, in fairness, the person running the business often is the brand. They are the face of the business. But again, like you say, it is a vanity video. It's a bit more self-serving than it maybe should be. And again, I think they're missing the point, really.
There's a lot to be said for building up your own personal brand and putting yourself out there as, as the founder or whatever. But not everybody's going to be interested in what you have to say.
I know that?
It's like, so I don't know, if you've got somebody who's an accountant who's putting out what they want to say, talking about how they got into accountancy and everything else. But actually, your clients don't want to know how you got into accountancy. They want to know how good you are with numbers. They want to know how you're up to date with all the latest tax relief stuff. And that's what they want. They don't want to know how, when you were little, you used to count Legos and you decided that you wanted to be an accountant, or, you were really good with numbers. Nobody cares about that story.
Yeah. No, I kind of agree. I mean, just to not to argue with you, but just to have a devil's advocate kind of insight onto this. I do think sometimes I do like to know a little bit more about the business, and the ones I have a personal understanding with, there is something to that. But you're right, I don't necessarily need to know all that layers of intricacy into their background.
Or what they had for lunch.
Absolutely. No, I don't need to know that at all. What's the next one? Hit me with the next one.
Poor video quality.
Poor video quality. All right, yeah. I mean, to be honest, I'm seeing that less and less now, because even the video that you can get on a smartphone tends to be really, really good. There's obviously still quite a lot of mistakes people make in terms of their lighting and their composition and their framing, which is a bit of a no-no. But the biggest issue I still see, even now, is sound quality.
Yeah.
Again, you can record some really, really quite nice looking footage with a camera, but if you're in an echoey room quite far away, it's going to sound bad, basically. And that can be very, very off-putting. I think bad sound's far more off-putting than actually bad picture quality.
Oh, definitely. I would completely agree with that. I think it is rare that you have terrible video quality because of smartphones. Anyone can video anything at any time. And yeah, like you say, lighting, having an understanding of lighting can make a massive difference to a video. But if you can't hear what they're saying, or if they're muffly, I think that's the biggest turnoff for people.
Yeah. What's interesting is a few years ago, everybody used to say, video quality doesn't matter. Well, it matters, but not as much as you think, because actually it's the content that you're delivering that is really providing the value. And whereas that is true, the issue now is that so many people are creating video, and there's so much video content out there that actually, if you were to make a snap judgment just by looking at that video for a few seconds and the quality is bad, chances are you're going to make the determination that this video probably isn't worth my time, because the quality is not good. There's so much video content out there, and I'm just going to scroll past it and keep going.
We actually talk about this a lot at Falkon Digital, because there's this idea that people have a much shorter attention span. And that's where they think the rise in short form video has come from, because people will watch short form video because they don't have the attention for long form video. But actually what we're finding is people will sit and binge watch long form video. They will watch hours of content, but they will make a snap decision very quickly. So the reason short form video does so well when it's well produced and well edited is because it appeals to those fast endorphins of getting that information quickly.
Yeah.
And you will find that people will sit and watch video after video after video. Definitely. When they're hooked. That's how, TikTok makes all its money, really.
Absolutely.
But if you can hook somebody on long form video, you can hook somebody in early enough that they actually will then commit to watching like an hour or 30 minutes and then 30 minutes and like episodes, that people will actually do that as well. There is the binge culture as well. So it's not about attention span. It's more about, value.
It is, absolutely. People value their time more because there is just so much video content out there. So they do make those judgments super fast. One of the things I would say is, I was speaking to a business recently, and they were talking about their shorts, and they were talking about producing like 20 shorts in an hour, because they were like, well, each one's going to be a minute long. We could easily record 20 in an hour. And I was just thinking, those videos are going to be such poor quality. And I think that's what's one of the issues businesses have with shorts, is that they treat shorts like throwaway content. I personally will spend as much time making a short sometimes as I would a long form piece of content. So I might spend 4, 6, maybe 8 hours on a piece of short form content. But the difference is, and this isn't necessarily intended to be a humble brag, but whereas their videos are getting maybe 2,000 or 3,000 views, mine are getting tens of millions of views. So it is definitely worth putting that effort into your video editing and structure and everything else that goes into it.
Yeah. Thing is, it's not just one thing that makes your videos successful. If you are choosing creating video content and doing sort of 20, 30 in a day, there's a good chance that you are skimping on the clear messaging that's in that as well. And the point, what's the
everything.
point?
Yeah, absolutely.
What is the point of these videos that you can actually roll out 30 in a day? It's not going to be that unique a message. It's not going to be that special. So there's a good chance that that also affects the quality and the performance, really.
I agree.
Another mistake we see people making is a lack of storytelling.
Yeah. I see this all the time. Sorry.
Go on. No, go for it.
So again, this is not intended to be a humble brag, but I get a lot of people trying to mimic my content on YouTube. Lots and lots of copycats. And when I look at the videos, they get a lot of aspects of it right. So they have the scene selection right. They're using the same effects, the same transitions, the same caption styles, the same music. They literally copy it about as much as they can get away with. But then they structure their videos in such a way that they've missed one of the most crucial points, which is the storytelling. And as a result, they don't get the same attention and the video just does not take off as much. But they have a very, very linear structure to their videos. And as a result, it's not captivating at all. It's very easy to just swipe away.
Yeah. I mean, we've been working with an influencer recently, and they are very good at storytelling from their own perspective. But in this particular case, they're being hired by a brand.
Yeah.
And they are continuing to tell their own story, and they're forgetting that actually the purpose of the video is to tell the brand story through their eyes. And that is a real thing that I'm really struggling to get across to this particular influencer, that, you know, the money that this brand is paying them is they really should be putting the brand more at the focus of the story and making the brand the hero. And that is a way that sort of influencers can work with brands and get success, because I know a lot of people come to me wanting to make their video better so that they can set up these brand deals.
Yeah.
But if you don't understand the point of the video and the storytelling surrounding that and how you need to adjust the storytelling so that it appeals to both audiences in a collaboration, then it's just going to miss the mark.
Yeah.
And people aren't going to invest in you.
Yeah. Yeah. I think one of the things that I see the most is when it comes to videos, particularly if people are trying to give information, the way in which they structure their videos tends to be like this. They say, this happens, so this, and then this, so this. It's just very, very linear. And actually, it was Matt and Trey, the producers of South Park, and of course, the Book of Mormon musical. Well, they did a video, God, it must be years ago. It's a very, very old video. And they talked about their concepts of storytelling. They said what they always do is they start off with a statement or hook or whatever it might be. And they say this, but this, so therefore this. And there's just this constant change to try and keep people kind of captivated, which I thought was fascinating. As a very, very basic rule or framework, that's a really, really great place for people to start, particularly if they are creating that kind of linear, linear route to their content.
What's your favorite storytelling techniques?
I like loops.
Loops.
Everyone calls them by a different name, but I like the idea of a loop. So with my videos, I always start off with a curiosity hook, which is my open loop. Now, we are curious creatures by nature. And so, we find ourselves wanting the answers to questions, anything that kind of piques our interest. Now, before I close that loop, I like to then open up another loop. So I've always got some aspect of curiosity that's keeping people engaged, keeping them wanting to watch more with their content. And I actually find loops, as much as I like them, I actually find them quite hard to use sometimes, because it is quite difficult to have a constant loop that's relevant in your video. So what I'll quite often do is I'll create my rough structure to what my script is going to be, and then I add the loops in almost retrospectively at the end to try and make it work, because it is tricky. It is a skill. It is something that you have to practice and learn, and you do need to do trial and error to see what works with your audience. But that's one of my favorite techniques. What about you?
Loops you see a lot in TV, especially in sort of serialized content those sort of cliffhangers.
Well, yes.
Especially powerful when you started one loop and then you don't close it, but you start another.
Exactly.
And then you close that first loop, but the second loop is still open, and then you start another, and you end up with this series of loop, and you're just like, but what's going to happen next? What's going to happen next?
Exactly. For people who don't understand what loops are, a cliffhanger is a great example. So you get to the end of your favorite TV show, and all of a sudden, there's something is revealed, and you're like, "Oh my goodness, that's groundbreaking! What's going to happen next?" That is an open loop. Was that supposed to be the EastEnders?
Trying to. Haven't watched it for a while.
Do they have dramatic ends to EastEnders? I haven't watched it in so many years. I don't actually know.
I'm sure they're opening and closing loops.
But that's a great example of a loop, and you need to have that loop closed to kind of feed that curiosity, basically.
Yeah. It is a really great technique for serialized content, especially. I think for me, I like reverse storytelling. Yes. That's my favorite.
That's an old school one.
I
know,
know,
isn't it?
but it works. So instead of the answer, I get the point before the answer, and that's how I open it up. And then we have the story up until the answer. I suppose that's a really basic way of saying it. But you sort of open with, this is the interesting part. This is your hook.
Yeah.
And then you sort of rewind back.
Which actually about 4 years ago on YouTube, everybody was doing it because it was super popular. Because again, you were giving people what they wanted straight away. They weren't having to wait towards the end of the video to get to the meat. Yeah. The meat was at the start, and then you had to kind of reverse that back.
I think I like it because it still works very, very well on like TikTok and Instagram, because you've only got a short amount of time. Instagram in particular, because the shorter content does so much better. And even the longer content, you've only got 3 minutes anyway.
Yeah.
So being able to hook them in and give them that satisfaction from the whole video to then get them, because I'm usually working with brands, then get them to the call to action. It works very, very well.
Yeah. Go on and hit me with the next one. What's next?
You'll love this one. Making videos too long.
Making videos too long?
Yeah.
Okay. So what I think that's saying is, when people have a predetermined length in mind for how long they want their video to be, they deliver their value quite early on in the video, and the rest of it is just filler. Is that what that's referring to, do you think?
I mean, what it says is attention spans are short, which we actually disagree with.
I do.
What I think is, I don't necessarily think making videos too long is a problem. What I think is, making long videos without a point is a problem. Making long intros and lots of beautiful panning, broadcast quality content.
So it's more the pacing of it is what you're thinking.
Yeah, I think you have to keep users engaged. And you've got to remember, majority of us don't have access to amazing actors who can pull off a one-shot scene and keep you engaged, or those amazing scripts that are dramatic, that will keep you engaged. You've got to have a point for a long video.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think there's definitely a place for a long video.
Yeah. So, I mean, at the moment we're seeing extremes, particularly on the YouTube platform, where, okay, we've got rise in shorts, where people are consuming huge amounts of short form content. There's a real appetite for that there, undeniably. But what we're also seeing is the rise in people watching YouTube on TV. In fact, I think in the US, YouTube has actually just overtaken Netflix in terms of its user base for people watching long form content, which is kind of incredible in itself. So people are watching much longer and longer videos.
I mean, look at the kids.
Oh, yes.
My daughter had people round this weekend. I was like, you can watch TV downstairs if you want. First thing they do, YouTube. And they watch YouTube on the big TV and just...
So just for context for people watching, in our living room, we have a 65-inch TV with Netflix, Amazon, Now, Paramount,
Disney Plus.
We've got everything you can imagine, basically. Yeah, out of all of those things, the kids who are 12 to 14 all chose to watch YouTube. Which is quite crazy.
I was like, you can buy something?
Yeah,
you can buy a movie if you want. No, just YouTube.
Yeah. But what we're seeing as well is we're seeing super, super long form content being really, really popular at the moment. So there's a guy, I really can't remember his name off the top of my head. He is a guy called Matt Armstrong. He takes cars that have been crashed and he repairs them in his garage and makes them like new, basically. Sometimes even better than they were before they were crashed. He has these series of content which are great, where he might take a car and over 5 or 6 episodes, 5 or 6 30-minute episodes, he might show the process of repairing the vehicle. They're fascinating to watch. I used to watch them while I was eating my lunch all the time. And now what he's done is he's created a second channel where he compiles all of those videos together. So what would have been 6 30-minute episodes is now one 3-hour episode. And those videos are super popular. Why are they popular? Not only because of people's consumption patterns at the moment, also because that is massive amounts of watch time.
Mm.
So of course, YouTube algorithmically absolutely loves the idea of this. So yeah, it's doing extremely popular. So I don't think length by itself is an issue, but what I do think is, like again, a few years ago, YouTubers used to aim for a 10-minute duration for their videos. The reason for doing that is if you have a video that's over 10 minutes, get a lot more control over the placement of your ads. And as a result, I often felt like they were vying for time, just kind of buffering almost to try and make their video that 10-minute duration.
Yeah.
And I think that's a real issue. That's definitely going to lead to drop-off rates.
I mean, one thing that really annoys me is when brands come to us and they're like, right, let's help with the video. Here's my intro. I want this on the beginning of every single one of my videos. And it's like 30 seconds long.
And it's the same on every single one.
And it's like something out of the 80s. Lasers and spinning logos. And you're just like, oh my God, nobody's going to sit and watch that for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
That's too long. And you've made your video 30 seconds longer than it needs to be.
Yeah.
That's where that is the sort of it's too long. There's no purpose for it. There's no point to it.
Yeah.
That's my only thing on that.
Sounds good. What's the next mistake that we have?
Not optimizing for different platforms.
Ooh.
So that's one that you and me talk about quite a lot, because when we make short form video, obviously you're very good at short form editing and your scripts are very good. And when you create a short, it's very easy to just post that onto Instagram and TikTok, and it does very well.
Mm-hmm.
But
so I'll be the first to admit that for my own personal content, I am very, very lazy with this, where I will create one piece of content, but I'll make it in a way that it can be used cross-platform. And so we're very, very, in fact, sometimes there's no difference between them. I will post it on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram, and I can get away with it for the most part. So I definitely understand it. And from a time perspective, really, the only reason I post on TikTok and Instagram is to stop copycats. That's the only reason, because they download my content and they re-upload it themselves. So that's the only reason I do it. So I don't spend any extra time than I have to doing it. But yes, if you're doing it as a business and you have a call to action within your videos, it's really important to optimize specifically for that platform. Even the language that you use and the instruction that you give can be really important. So for example, if you are on YouTube, you might say, have a look in the description. There's a link in the description. Click that link and it will take you to wherever you need to be as your call to action. In Instagram, it might be a link in bio. In TikTok, it might be something else. You might have an overlay call to action. You need to be able to say what it is specifically for that platform in order to have the best success rates, for sure.
Mm-hmm. I mean, from my point of view, optimizing, I can take one of your videos, for example.
Yeah.
Because of the way it's edited, especially because your particular videos don't have a call to action at the end. It's usually just, it's more of a personal project than a brand project. They do very well, but you upload with the music, you upload with your particular thumbnails that you would use for, which you'd use for YouTube shorts. Whereas for TikTok and Instagram, it's much better to actually do some editing in the app.
Yes.
Just to get it a little bit further, even if you are just choosing a thumbnail, uploading a thumbnail, or using some music that you can sort of set at like 10%, 30%, so it doesn't go over the content. That will make quite a bit of a difference to your reach. So from my point of view, those little tweaks that you can do will help it go a little bit further.
Yeah, I mean, I took your advice on this and I tried I actually removed the music from the video. And when I uploaded it to TikTok and Instagram, I actually chose 2 different music tracks for the background music. And because I chose trending music, they did seem to get a lot more reach. So yeah, I definitely agree. It definitely seems to make a difference.
Yeah.
So if you can use any of those extra things, any more of a boost or more reach, it's not a lot more work to do it.
Not for that.
It adds to the workflow a little bit, again, for me, because it's not, they're not where I make my money. I want to focus on my time on YouTube. To me, those extra steps seem like a lot, but in reality, they're not. It makes, a couple of
Yeah.
minutes difference for an upload.
I think the biggest difference is when you've got long form content,
Sure.
and that is obviously it's filmed in landscape
Mhm.
on the YouTube platform. But you can,
Yeah.
but you should be sharing those little snippets of that. In my opinion, you should think of it like a movie trailer. The
Mhm.
short is your movie trailer. It's your best bits, and it's going to encourage it. And especially for things like TikTok and Instagram, you can cross promote,
Mhm.
but you do have to take some time on the edit. You can't just like shove a landscape video in. You have to.
Yeah, and it's funny you say this. I didn't think to mention this because it seems just so obvious, but I have seen people uploading their landscape videos to Instagram, and because they've made no optimizations or any changes to them, they either put the landscape video kind of in the middle of a portrait frame, which
Yeah.
isn't a great use of composition or space, or they will put it in full size, which is fine for some shots, but in other shots, say we're talking now, this is on a wide angle shot, there's two of us here. If we were to put that in portrait without editing, we've got the middle of the screen, the middle of the room, but we're actually not in shot. So people will do that. And I know that sounds like a super obvious thing, but it's worth mentioning. I don't know.
The other mistake that has come up in our little bit of research that we've done is actually not optimizing SEO and metadata. But actually, I don't think that's a mistake at all. What about you?
I don't think that's a mistake either. There are some advantages to spending some time making sure that when you publish your video, you do the right things, that you check certain boxes
Yeah.
as you're going through it. But I'm a member of a number of different video marketing and YouTuber groups. And one of the mistakes that I would say people make more is that they actually try and over optimize. So they're going too far the other way, where they spend all their time looking at their tags and their descriptions, the real minutiae of what makes a video successful. And actually, if the video isn't successful, you say, what did I get wrong with my tags?
Yeah.
And actually, so I think they've gone too far the other way. I always think of YouTube optimization not as SEO, but I think of YouTube optimization as optimizing your content so that it performs better algorithmically.
Yeah. I mean, I come from an SEO background,
Mhm.
and old school SEO is typing in a keyword and
Mhm.
hoping that it's going to come up top in Google. And a lot of people do seem to think that typing in a keyword in YouTube and coming up top for that particular keyword is a very important factor in video marketing. But
Yeah.
actually, it really isn't. And I think that's why a lot of old school marketers do get bogged down by that, because that was always the thing that we could control the easiest: the
Yes.
metadata, the tags,
Mhm.
the hook, like the title.
Yeah.
That was something that we had more control over. But actually it is just box ticking. So it's very good to put those data connections together
Mhm.
in the tags between your audience and audiences like yours, but it's not the be all and end all.
Yeah.
Because we find when we do put those data connections in, that it's your video that gets served next more often than not, but not
Yeah.
always.
I would say there's two things that are probably worth mentioning here. The first is that about 4 years ago, I performed a number of different tests with my metadata on videos, where I put very, very specific words and phrases into my descriptions and tags. And I wanted to see if by doing that, it had any influence over my ranking. Or I'm talking very, very specific niche things. Some of them even had numbers in, almost like codes. And despite the fact I knew for a fact that I was the only video using those tags and those parts of the description, they didn't rank for those things at all. So that gave me some really useful insights into how much YouTube was really factoring those in. The second thing that's probably worth mentioning is that people are very, very concerned about their search performance. And whereas it's great, if you can improve your search performance, really most of the traffic now, I think it's probably about over 80%, comes via YouTube's recommendation engine. It's not actually search traffic in the way that people think that it is. So yeah, if you're spending a lot of time or maybe a disproportionate amount of time thinking about your SEO, you probably things that you could be doing, or is it maybe you've got things that are better use of your time
Mhm.
when it comes to actually making your video
The
content.
algorithms are a lot smarter than that.
Exactly.
Doesn't matter how many keywords you put in, if you've got a crap video, they're
All those
not going to
keywords are
serve it.
completely unrelated. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you never mentioned any of them at all in the
Yeah.
video content. Yes,
Mm.
absolutely.
The next mistake is having no call to action.
Yep.
And that is something I think you would think that just applies for a brand,
Mhm.
but actually that applies to personal
Sure.
videos as well. You know, if you want to keep viewers on YouTube, on your videos, it is good to have a call to action.
Definitely.
At the end of the day, all these platforms, they just want to keep you there as long as possible.
Yeah.
So from a personal point of view, your call to action isn't going to be go buy this
Yeah.
or, you know, fill in the form for consultation.
Yeah.
It would be something more to do with how are we going to keep you on this platform to make my video perform a lot better.
Yeah. I mean, I could literally talk all day about calls to action and how people get them terribly wrong and the things that you should be doing.
What's one of the biggest mistakes of call to actions?
Biggest mistake I see with call to actions is that people use too many.
Mhm.
So they ask the viewer to do too many things.
Comment below, like and subscribe.
Exactly.
Press the bell.
Exactly. Read the description, click this, click that. And if you ask for too many actions, ultimately the viewer will take no action. So that's probably the biggest one I see. The other big one is that people ask for an action too early in the video.
Mm.
So calls to action, generally speaking, are part of a value exchange. You provide value in your video content. And as a result of providing that value, you can then ask them to perform an action, which is your call to action.
Mm-hmm.
And if you ask for it too early on, it's just not going to work. People aren't going to follow it.
Mm.
So they're probably the two biggest I see all the time. But I think you're right. I think, you know, for a business, businesses often have a very, very clear reason for creating video content.
Mm-hmm.
They want customers, they want leads, they want whatever.
Money. It's always
ultimately
money.
Yeah, money's
that
the key thing.
Falls into their bank account.
Absolutely, absolutely. So for them, it's kind of easier to have a really, really clear, well, actually, this is if you could only take one action from the end of the video, this is what I would ideally want it to be. So that's easy. But you're right, creators need to take advantage of it too. And one of the best things that you can do, as you've already said, is actually to maximize your session time. So if at the end of a video, you can say, do you know what? I hope that you found this video useful, but actually, there's actually even more to this. Really, this is only half of the story. And if you want to know the full story, what you want to do is watch this second video.
Yeah.
And that's when you link to another single video
Mm-hmm.
in your playlist, whatever you've got in your library, whatever you've got that is actually relevant and connected to that piece of content.
Yeah.
But that's a really good way of keeping people on your channel, watching your content, and increasing session time. Session time is probably almost secondarily important to overall watch time. So if you can boost that, that's significant.
Yeah. I've noticed on TikTok that the more comments you can get, the better that it does. So asking someone if you can say something a little bit controversial in your video or something that is going to promote a response in a comment, that really does inflate your watch time, because you've got to remember TikTok's just going to keep playing it while you're on that session.
Well, exactly, yeah.
So you'll have like a 200-300% watch time.
I'm so glad you said that, because I don't think that comments themselves are necessarily that positive a metric, but if somebody spends a long time writing a comment and they end up watching your video 5 times in the background, that's massive. That's a massive...
Yeah, for short form content, it really...
And long form. Well, it keeps people on. Did you see that guy? Oh, what was he called? Oh, it's so frustrating. I forgot his name. But he famously, I watched one of his videos and I found it incredibly frustrating because he famously pronounces things incorrectly.
Yeah.
He does it all the time, and he does it because he knows it's just rage bait. And so everybody comments saying, that's not how you pronounce penguin or whatever it is that he said in the video. But his videos do incredibly well. And again, it's probably because he's got that inflated watch time because of the millions of comments that all of his video has. I think people were starting to get wise to it towards the end, weren't doing it as much. But when he first started, it was incredibly powerful.
I think one way to sort of figure out what works on a platform is figuring out the new products they bring out. Not even new anymore, really. But so for TikTok, you can respond to a comment with a video, which keeps them on your video and keeps them in your comment section. And Instagram have followed suit. You can respond to a comment with a reel. They're all copying each other. Yeah. And I think that's quite a clear signifier that comments and staying on that session time on a video makes a big difference.
Definitely. I haven't actually tried that feature yet. You sent it to me a couple of weeks ago, And I was like, that just seems like a lot of work at the moment, but I
Oh,
will
well,
try it.
actually, now you've got the audio comments on YouTube as
That's
well.
right,
The
that's
voice
right.
notes
The
on
voice
YouTube.
notes, that was the one I saw, yeah.
Yeah, so it's slightly different, but I saw that and I was like, oh my God, I hate when everyone sends me voice notes anyway, let alone on my YouTube channel. But it is another way to stay on that video and keep that engagement flowing, really.
Definitely.
And people who don't want to sit and type something out and do prefer voice notes, it's ideal for them. This is quite a big one.
Mhm.
So people put a video out, but they don't track how well it does. They don't track the
Oh.
analytics. They don't measure it in any way. They don't benchmark it.
That's crazy. So as someone who looks at that analytics, like
Live
multiple times a
analytics.
day, yeah, I watch my real-time analytics. I watch my analytics in general.
Yeah,
throughout
you're
the
a
day.
blast at a barbecue.
Yeah. I will look religiously at my swipe away ratio, at my retention time graph, because all of those bits of data are telling me, okay, they're giving me so many insights into how I can make better content moving forwards. And it really tells me what my audience wants. And ultimately, success on YouTube is really about understanding your audience. So I have no idea how people can continue to make content if they don't look at that data.
Do you remember that client that we had? And they would start the video off in the same way every time, and it would instantly drop off just when they said one particular word. I can't remember what it was, but for the sake of an example, it would be like, "Hi, my name is Sadie. Welcome to this podcast." And then something about the way they said podcast, everybody was just like, "Ah, sick of this." And they would, and we got this data, and we were like, they're always dropping off. There's a big drop off, a significant drop off at that word.
Yeah.
And it could have been the word before and it just happened to be that one. But we got them to rephrase everything.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, they just got that little bit further before people started dropping off.
Yeah.
And the drop off was less like a hockey stick and more of a
Slower drop off.
Yeah. But if we hadn't have been looking into that data, his videos just never would have been performed ever.
Yeah. Yeah. I noticed one of our ex-clients, they had what we call inserts, little inserts that happen, which are basically calls to action at certain points in his videos. And we noticed that every time he added a new insert, so we recorded a new version of it, his audience retention remained constant. People didn't skip ahead because it was new. Like, oh, what's this? Whereas when he used the same ones over and over again, we started to see these real obvious dips in the audience retention because people were just skipping ahead. Like, oh, it's the same insert I always see. Skip ahead 10 seconds. And they had these horrible dips throughout their videos. And some people even would leave at that point. It's an excuse to say, oh, they reevaluate. Should I continue watching this video or should I leave? And so it was causing these big drop-off points. So the key point we wanted to get across was every couple of weeks, just re-record that in a different way or a different environment or say it in a different way, whatever, because it have a huge impact on the overall success of your videos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it worked.
It did work. Yeah, absolutely. As long as he carried on making them.
Well, that's it, isn't it?
Yeah.
The next one is inconsistent posting schedule.
Ooh, yeah, I'm terrible for this.
Yeah. Yeah. Was it you did one a day for a month and then you did one a month?
Pretty much. I mean, literally, I was thinking this morning, I haven't posted yet in March. So today is what, March 4th, March 5th? Haven't posted in March yet. I don't think I posted past the 7th of February. So horrendously bad for staying on any kind of schedule. I mean, I don't really have a schedule anyway, but I just try and post with some consistency. So my aim was 2 or 3 times a week, at least.
Yeah.
At least. If you could do it every day for my kind of content, because it's such short form content, that's ideal.
Well, look at what happened when you did do it every day.
Exactly. But I just don't have the
do you want to tell people what happened?
Yeah, I guess so. So in August of 2024, I actually decided that I hadn't, same story had happened again where I hadn't posted to YouTube for about 2 or 3 months. And I thought, I need to get back on it. I need to revitalize, reboot my channel a little bit. But I thought what I'll do is I'll do one of those 28-day challenges where 28 days I post every single day. And a bit different to what other people were doing. The concept really was just trying to get people to create content. And they were spending 10 minutes per day creating very, very low quality shorts, which didn't perform particularly well as a result, as you could imagine. My plan was, no, I'm going to create good shorts for every day for 28 days. And I can do it for 28 days. So that's what I told myself. It's 4 hours a day. I'll find the time. I'll find the topics. I can do it. Long story short is I failed the challenge. I only did 21 days out of 28. So I was pretty close.
Mm.
So that's like 75% success rate. But in that time, my channel went from, I think the previous month, it had done about 5 or 6 million views. And that was me posting nothing, to 65 million views and a big chunk of ad revenue for that month as well, which paid for various various things and holidays.
Yeah.
So yeah, that shows you absolutely what the power of consistency can do. Now, with some of my other channels, my faceless channels, I actually have editors that do that for me. So that helps keep me consistent. But my own personal channel, which is my face, my voice, everything else, I don't want other people to edit that because it is my personal brand. That's why that particular one does seem to get neglected more than others.
But even if you can stick to a weekly or bi-weekly, if people, and if YouTube, if the platforms start to expect and know that this is going to be coming out on a semi-regular basis, they will keep coming back and they will understand that. And
I think really as well, it's the audience expectations, because when I published every day, I could see in the comments, like, oh my God, this is fantastic. We're getting daily content. Luke's actually pulling his finger out and actually doing stuff, which is great. And I'm the same with channels that I follow. There's one that only publishes once a week, but they publish every Sunday about 6 p.m. And quite often on a Sunday at 6 p.m., I'll be like, oh, I'll watch that video. And if they haven't published, I am so disappointed. It really feels, I feel quite let down by it. It's almost like if you've gone to watch your favorite TV show and it was cancelled for some reason that week. It's almost the same, So I think audience expectations definitely plays a part of it as well.
Yeah. So that was the 10.
Was it all 10?
Yeah.
Wow, we flew to those.
I did think of another while we were talking. People who do video marketing, but they don't actually spend any time on the platform. So people who think, I'm going to be a success on YouTube, but don't spend a lot of time watching YouTube videos. And it sounds obvious. And we can teach you all the skills you need to make a good video. We can teach you storytelling. We can teach you editing. We can teach you production, everything that you need to know. But if you don't innately understand what works and what doesn't work, because you're experiencing it, 9 times out of 10, you're going to miss the mark anyway.
I had a couple of clients that really desperately wanted to be successful on YouTube. And again, I said to them once, I said, well, what channels do you watch? What content do you consume? What competitors have you got? They had no idea. They had no clue. I was like, well, how do you know how to structure your content? What tone it should be? What other videos are your audience watching that are really successful? You don't have any of the answers, which is crazy. On the flip side to that as well, talk about, really knowing and understanding the platform. There was a lady who created a video. Gosh, this must be years ago now. She was called Janelle. She did a van life video.
Yeah.
Do you remember her?
I do, yeah.
Okay, so for everybody watching, Janelle created this video. It was her first video on a brand new channel, and it exploded. It was a great video. It was just showing that she was living in a van, and she showed how she'd modified her van. So it had like a bed, and a TV, and a stove, and she was driving around doing her van life. She was earning money as like a bartender or something in between things. She even showed how she had like a national gym membership. So it was like on a gym franchise. So that was how she had a shower and a wash and everything else. That video and a few videos that followed did exceptionally well. And a lot of people in the YouTube community were like, oh, she's a stooge. YouTube have set this up to make it look like YouTube's dead easy and everything else. The reality was she just created a really good piece of content on her first try because she had grown up. She's a lot younger than we are. She's probably in her early 20s.
Everyone's a lot younger than we are.
She's probably 20 years younger than us. She's probably grown up with YouTube and she just innately understands YouTube content and what makes good YouTube content. I think that's a key piece that a lot of people are missing. YouTube's only been around since 2006, really.
Yeah.
So if someone was born in the early 2000s, they've probably been having YouTube most of their life.
Yeah, I mean, look at our kids. Our daughter, she loves TikTok, and she edits her own videos, all on private channel. But she nails her quick cuts
Right.
because it's just, she's so used to quick cuts. She understands it. Whereas it's something we've had to learn.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Whereas she's grown up with quick cuts.
I hated quick cuts when I first used them because I come from a classical videographer background, and it was all about you never use a quick cut. You'd have a scene change maybe or something to disguise the scene, but you never just have a quick cut. That was filthy, So
I was speaking to somebody who's in the TV and film industry, and they were actually saying how much they admire people like us who make short form content.
right.
I was like,
Really?
what? Why? I've seen the stuff you do, and it's insane. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. She's like, yeah, but what you do is so fast and gets to the point really quickly, and it's just so well edited.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't tell you about this, did
No.
you? I was having a coffee with a friend, and I mean, obviously, I was sort of, well, actually, the work that they do, it's a very different style. But it was nice to see that actually people in TV and production, they see it as a different style of video now. It's not a throwaway thing anymore. It's not a throwaway
that's so
media. They
interesting.
see it as a skill in its own.
I'm glad. And to be honest, it without sounding rude, it does require, or it does deserve some respect.
Yeah.
Because the kind of numbers that you can pull now on YouTube can quite surpass what we're getting on TV.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you look at the viewing figures of, I wouldn't say films so much because there's big budgets, but TV programs like even like ITV News.
Yeah.
How many people watch ITV News? What are their viewing figures like compared to the online versions or that guy that talks about news on his YouTube channel sort of thing? The reach is probably so much bigger.
It's still fascinating that they acknowledge what creators are doing now. It does definitely, to me, indicates a definite turning of the tide. So.
It definitely is. I mean, in the discussion, we were having an informal discussion, but in the discussion that we had, it was sort of surrounding the fact that film and producers, they do know that they need to utilize things like social media. It's not going to replace what they do because what they do is high budget. It's really well produced. It's got good acting. It's got everything that you need.
Yeah.
But to support that, to get eyes on that, it helps to have an understanding and to have that strategy, that video marketing strategy on the peripheral of it.
Yeah.
They did sort of say, not sure if I should say this, but...
Oh, tell us now.
But they were sort of saying the big budget films, they're safe.
Right.
The low to mid budget productions, they're not doing quite so well.
Okay.
Which is fine for the person that I was speaking to because they're big budget, but like the sort of the smaller stuff, because they are getting replaced by things like YouTube,
right.
and creators creating content that sort of surpasses that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which might be a turning point for all video, where we do have these sort of two separate mediums, where you have your video, your social media video, and you have your broadcast video.
Yeah.
And your cinema video. And
well, I mean, we're seeing so many celebrities and brands and everyone all turning towards creating content on YouTube. It wouldn't surprise me. That's where it all ends up eventually. Fascinating.
Yeah. Well, I mean, YouTube is a big streaming player now.
It is. Fascinating. Okay. Well, I think that is probably a good point to end.
Yep.
Is there anything else you want to add?
Nope. Don't tell anybody I told that, though. I might
I don't
get in
think
trouble
anyone will
from
make
my
it
friends.
this far through anyway. So, but that's the end of episode 1 of the rebooted Falkon Digital podcast. So this is the video marketing podcast by Falkon Digital. And if you enjoyed this, give it a follow, because we will be sharing more and more tips, advice, and actionable insights that you can use for video marketing for your business. So we'll see you in the next episode.